change the thing for the big int. Maybe move the date.now onto the back end, or we could keep it on the front end. I don't think that we could go either way with that. And then, did you fix that error that you were having that was unique?
I did. I fixed the first one, and then I got another separate one, but it's just because of the postman to server
Oh,
situation.
that's right. You did get it figured
Yeah.
out. Okay, great. Cool. So we are live.
All
Couple minutes early,
right.
which is good. Give it a little buffer time. Hello, hello, hello to everybody out there.
Hey, howdy, hey.
Courtney and I were just strategizing about how we're going to approach moving forward on the project today. Super excited to be back for another episode. I look forward to this every week. I know, and I guess today's Thursday, slightly different day, keeping everybody on their toes, making sure you're paying attention out there. Otherwise, you're gonna miss it. And it's not like it's just instantly available on VOD, anyways. But uh, yeah, so we're back again. Courtney, how are you doing today? Let's do a little warm up here. Warm you in.
I'm good. I'm good. This has been a nice week for me. Very productive. I was telling Spencer before. I've been working on building a metronome in JavaScript, which has been honestly much more complex than I expected. Dealing with set interval and why that is not a good option for for timing things in JavaScript. Not if you need a music timing.
Mm.
But otherwise, feeling good about things. How about yourself, Spencer?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty well. I'm very interested in seeing where that goes, and I'd love to hear about. Maybe we can have more conversation about it, or if you have a repo that you can share or something, it'd be fun to kind of follow that along because that's been a project that's stuck in the back of my head for quite a while too. Is the idea of building like a metronome or trying to build a drum sequencer where you can click the buttons
Yes.
in a grid and then hear the boom chick come back at you, which I imagine is going to need the same type of timing stuff in there anyways, because that also has
Yes.
to all be in time.
It's a very deep rabbit hole. It turns out.
Yeah, and I
there's
think
there's a
I think
lot
it'd
to
be
look
super
into.
fun. It'd be super fun. So, maybe we have to make competing metronome apps or something. I
Okay. Oh, I
don't
like that.
know. Yeah. So, I've been doing well. Just kind of keeping on with everything that's incumbent upon job searching and skill development and working on projects and developing and got plenty of stuff to work on. Did you have any music you wanted to share today?
Yeah, I got a quick thing. There's this group. I think I found them through Spotify's like suggestions at some point.
Nice.
I'm not even sure where they're based or anything like that, but they're called Potato Head People. Um,
You
and
find the
it's
most oddly named. We got potato head people, cartoons. Like
yeah.
this is becoming your brand now.
I know, yeah. And they fit much in the same vibe too of they're kind of like modern they're beats, but they also have vocals and arrangements with other actual instruments involved too. So it's a nice eclectic mix of sounds and really good for coding, even though there's vocals, which is not I know everybody's favorite thing.
Hmm.
Um I don't know, are we sharing links anywhere these days?
I mean, we could share the link in the chat. It'll show up as a comment on the video at least.
Okay. I in the chat meaning on LinkedIn, is that
Yeah, on
correct?
LinkedIn. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll
That'll
go
work.
ahead and throw mine in there. I'll throw my favorite song from them called
Awesome.
"Quest for Love."
I was thinking at some point I might go back between all of our episodes and just clip out all of our suggested musics and
Mm,
put them in like just a quick video and then share all the links too, just for some content generation and some music out there in the world.
yeah, our shared playlist will be like Outcast. We'll have my side and your side.
Yeah, there we go. Love it. Love it. Cool. I'm gonna share my screen real quick for my share. I went and I found this on YouTube. So I was just listening to this in my car the other day, coming back
Nice.
from a appointment, and it's so I'm a big Dream Theater fan. I love me some progressive rock, progressive metal, and so the instrumentally is 12 minutes, or here I guess it's 13 and a half minutes of like all of their most famous, catchy, awesome, like instrumental sections across
Mm,
their albums all squished into one song.
Oh, that's great. Like, they played it in live in
Yeah,
one take or
so this video here is from the 2003 Modern Drummer Festival. What we are
Oh,
seeing right now is a top-down shot of Mike Portnoy, hero of mine, one of my top three favorite drummers of all time. A top-down view of his double fusion drum set. You see, there's a second throne to his side over there. He actually has two seating positions.
oh, so he has gotta move over.
Yeah, and he does in this song, like, he does this big, like, tom roll across the toms, like, sweeping down this way, and then transitions onto the other kit and throne, and then keeps playing, and it's
Have you
awesome.
ever played a kit this extensive?
No, no.
How
Nope.
this what is this, like, 50 pieces? This
It's
is
it's
incredible.
it's enormous. There's 3 bass drums, because the idea is the side he's sitting at right now is, like, a double bass drum, like, a legitimate true, like, 2
Mm,
bass drums, and then the side he sits on the other side was inspired very strongly from, like, a John Bonham
okay.
point of view. It's got a single bass drum with a double pedal on it, different toms and cymbals, and yeah, I could go on for that. But yeah, but Instrumentally is super awesome, and this live video of them playing through it at Modern Drummer Festival is cool because yes, they perform all 13 minutes of all of their craziest instrumental stuff live, like straight through. It's awesome. So if you're at all curious about some good prog riffs, definitely check it out, and you can watch Mike play on his giant drum set.
I got a long car ride ahead of me. I'll definitely throw this on.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a live in Tokyo recording as well. That's the audio version of it that I have in my car. Whenever this is where I first discovered Instrumedley was on YouTube in this video form. So, but there, it doesn't matter which one you listen to. You can either watch it or listen to it. But yeah, so uh, yeah, just gotta okay. I gotta calm down. I get really excited about that stuff. It's like, and I just want to listen to it. It's so awesome. Anyways, so taking us back to where we were. Last time we were running into kind of a typing error on the Prisma side. We were trying to do this thing with this timestamp. We were discussing before we went live here about how we wanted to maybe approach this and how we could fix it potentially. Um, Courtney, do you want to talk us through kind of what we were maybe the couple of options we were thinking about?
Yes. So there's a few things that you brought up, and one kind of overarching theme I think that emerged from what we talked about is where to generate some of this data that we're going to actually enter every time, but that is not controlled by the user themselves. So this is basically generating an ID and the timestamp. That's not something that the user is going to enter specifically. And so a funny thing, we were getting different errors because I was testing with Postman, and I think Spencer, you were probably using the full app to
Just running
enter
in the
something.
browser. Yep.
Exactly, and so I was getting a very different issue, and I was thinking, what's going on here? Why is it giving me this error about I'm not providing a created at timestamp? Well, it's because we were handling it on the front end of our app. So this then creates the situation where we think, okay, to be able to test effectively in the future with any tool, and probably just best practice, I would imagine, it's probably better to generate the timestamp and the ID in the back end. Last week we talked about creating or utilizing a UUID as an ID instead of utilizing an auto incremented number from the database. And after looking into it, that definitely seems like the wiser choice. We can do that on the back end. It should not increase the time complexity very much of what we're doing. So I think that's probably what we're looking at. The other thing then is the big integer type that we were using for the timestamp, right? We're calculating a number of milliseconds, and I actually am not sure where do we land on that. Do we want to stick
Uh,
with that?
I mean, yeah, the two options are basically, do we try and keep it a number? If we keep it a number, do we end up having to make it a big int type, or we take the timestamp and we just make it a string because then it'll be easy to deal with, and that might just be the simplest way to go about it. I'd have to do some research to see what's best practice. But I mean, I guess the reason we were trying to keep it a number in the first place is because we intended on using this. Um, how do we intend on using it? Like, it's going to be a timestamp for the thing. So maybe like just chronological, like sorting them, right? We're going to pull down a list
Right.
of to dos to the app. and then based on their timestamp date, we're going to allow them to be sorted or like reverse sorted, right? Ascending,
Right.
descending type of idea, based on that timestamp. And when we start handling that timestamp, we thought it would maybe be easiest to just leave it a number because then you can just make it like a greater than, less than type of situation, right? Um, However, if we do end up having to make it a big number, then we're going to have to convert it back to a normal number to work with it anyways. And it's a lot easier to do that with a string rather than a big number.
Right. And then my question is, now that you've laid that out, should we just let it be a date string instead of a number? Because then we could save. Not that it matters that much. We could save ourselves a calculation and just display it as such. And I
Mm.
think you can compare dates. I'm not sure actually. Maybe I was thinking we were talking about different libraries we've used to handle dates, and I know in Moment, which may or may not be available anymore, you were able to just use simple um, operators to compare. You could do less than or greater than or equal
Oh,
to,
okay.
and it would return true false or whatever based on that, and then you could sort that way. But I don't know if the stock JavaScript date option allows for that. Let me look
No,
that
I
up.
think you have to convert, and I think that's kind of what I think that's what the timestamp is useful for. Is that you out of like one simple run of numbers, you get all that information. Then you do have to like process it to get it back to like a displayable date and whatnot. Um, the date string, I mean, we could just keep it as a date string because that's like a universal format. It's not like, if I in the US create it, it's going to be one date string, and then somebody in like China does it, it's going to be a different date string. It's a universal format. So that's an option too. uh, I've worked with the timestamp previously, but I'm not aware of why it would have to be a timestamp. It's funny how like just the idea of saving a date, there's so much like domain knowledge
There's
just
so much
around.
discussion.
Yeah, just around handle like how do you generate it? How are you going to store it? What format? How are you going to use it? How are you going to consume it? It's kind of funny. A lot to
So
learn
it
there
looks
as
like
well.
you can use comparisons on the date object that are greater than, less than,
Okay.
or a combination of either of those with an equal to. You cannot use equality comparison operators like the double equal sign or bang operator equal sign or
Oh,
any
interesting.
variation on those. Um, and while I'm not sure if we'll need to use those, maybe that's a good reason to keep it in this numeric format, but convert it to a string first and then.
I think if we're gonna do the numeric route, we should definitely just do a string. It's just gonna be easier, so
Okay.
we can move on. Um,
Well, I'm down to commit to that now. If we have
sure.
problems with it, we'll switch in the future.
And again, that's maybe something that we talked about the date FNS library as well, much like Moment, where it just has a bunch of operators, and maybe we can use that in the future if we need to like convert. Otherwise, we could just go through the process of writing some proprietary functions ourselves that just do the math to get the year, month, day, hour,
Right.
all that out of the date timestamp as well. How about okay? Let's settle on that. Do we want to generate that on the back end then, so that again, like you
Yeah.
said, like we can test from multiple tools without having to be chained to the front end then? I guess that
Yeah.
would
Yeah. I
be
would like that.
decoupling, right? That's the idea. Is we're trying to decouple the back end from service from the front end a little bit.
Yeah, and I suppose that unloads even a tiny amount of responsibility from the front end, which is probably a good idea.
Sure.
Um, so let's do that. Um, whose turn is it to share screen? Is it you or me?
I was coding last time a lot, so
Okay.
if you want to take some, and we can you can start, and then if we want to trade off at some point, we can do that too. But go for it.
Okay. Cool. I will handle that today then. Back to my world we go. All right.
See, you got like a purple thing going on, don't you?
I do. I do. I'm nice. Like it's not the name of it, but I think of it as like a grape
Oh,
flavored screen.
grape Fanta.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Okay, so of all the things we just discussed, I guess we can start with um, let's start with moving things to the back end, and then we'll perform the migration on and the type conversion for that big int that we currently have set, and we'll see if we can get this puppy hooked up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and split this because I want to take a look at what we were doing on the front end. Oops, wrong page. We need to go to do and this page. Okay. Um, okay, so first things first, I want to deal with the created at. Where are we actually creating that timestamp?
It is on line 51. No, not on line 51. On line 45 of the page.tsx.
Gotcha. Here we are. Okay. Um, right. So I guess we'll need to change a couple types as well to make this all work. Because we're actually going to submit. We're not actually submitting a created at in our task anymore.
Yeah, we're going to totally take that field out. Correct.
Okay, which means that I will have to make a change accordingly
And
in
while we're
our.
at it, sorry to interrupt. While we're at
Yeah, yeah,
it, let's take the ID out because we're also going to generate that on the back end.
good call. Good
Let's make
call.
this one migration instead of having to constantly come back here. So we have to change our task type and we have to change our schema.prisma.
One one change to rule them all. All right.
Let's see if we can do it in one shot. Can we cover all of our bases one time?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's the dream.
Certainly didn't do that last week. I was back and forth between
No,
those files constantly.
yeah, always. Well, okay. So far, it's not yelling at me. I have no errors. So, what I did was change. I removed the created at and the ID types from our TypeScript type for a task. Um, and actually, though, maybe the better way to do this is to actually make them optional because when we return type tasks to display and such, they will have these properties.
You just caught it. That was the catch to make. Yeah, we're gonna because we'll be receiving them back again. Right.
Right, right.
Ah, good
But we will
job.
not be sending them. I know I've run into
I
this
like
problem so many
I
times.
want like a little like like popper like confetti thing because that was a really good catch. I was fully just on board with removing them and moving on.
Well, I was thinking, why did we have them in the first place? But it's because, yeah,
Yeah,
our task doesn't just exist in the
yeah.
database, right?
This is why you're driving the car today.
Yeah, yeah. I had my tea already, so I'm feeling caffeinated, but just a little. Um, okay,
Just enough.
so just enough. Okay, I think that's all the change that we need at this moment on the front end. Now, correspondingly, we'll need to generate these things that we've removed from the front end. We'll need to generate them in the back end. So let's start with this. Let's do the timestamp first, just because I think that's a little simpler. I'll even call it timestamp, or actually, I'll call it created at. That
Yeah.
will keep our naming convention simple.
Let's see.
And so you were doing what? New date? Is that right?
Capital D date dot now as a method.
Oh, date dot now. Okay, that's right.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. And this
And then
creates the
sorry.
number. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm jumping ahead. I was just gonna say I think you could throw like two string on the end of that.
Oh, really? Oh, so we do have two string. Oh no, we didn't have two number. That's what it was last week.
Yeah, there's not a two number. You have to use the number object or whatever it's called. Number is that the number constructor? I think that I used. Is that the proper name for it? But
I think so. Yeah, because it's like a class.
yep.
We'll go ahead and log this. We're not going to use it yet because I want to change the ID situation to. Actually, maybe we should test just this. Now that I'm thinking
And
about
then
it,
we can commit it to Git as like one item once we know it's working.
you don't like this? If I name red console log. Hmm.
I don't think you have to return console log, do you?
Well, I wanted to cut off the rest of this because I don't want to get the error that
Oh,
shows
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah. I mean that.
automatically.
Oh, okay. It's not liking that. I see what you're trying to do now. You're trying to short circuit. Yeah.
Yeah, but what is this? Console is declared here. Cannot find name red console. Did you mean console? Did I misspell something?
I don't think so.
That is strange. Well, okay. How about this? Instead of all that, I'll just put it after.
There we
Okay,
go.
you like that. Good.
Well,
Okay.
I guess the
Sorry about that.
return is technically in that case before the console log call because it's the beginning of the line, and you're not actually
Oh,
returning that out of the
oh.
function. It might not have liked it because of that reason. That's just a guess.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. Okay, so I'll send this through, and I just want to see. Oh, well, we still got an error.
Did we do our
This
migration?
no response is returned. Oh, it just doesn't like that we're not actually sending a
Ah,
response.
okay, yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I guess I could just do this JSON, and we'll just say empty string. No need to return anything. Okay, I should have also checked type of. I just want to make sure this is actually the
Ah, there you
correct
go.
type because it's kind of hard to tell, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, like in the
uh,
the developer tools inside of a browser, it's like in Chrome at least, like numbers are blue and
right.
then strings are black, but they're still numbers. So you
Yeah. Right.
can't always tell.
uh, we did get a string though, so this is
Boom.
good. Okay, so we'll leave that where it is. Um, in fact, I will go ahead and do a little git committing while we're at it. Um, I'm just gonna do this all in one commit because I don't feel like
Do you
atomizing everything.
do you want to commit that return next response JSON bit?
Oh no, I guess what I could do instead is here. We'll get add. Where are we at here? We're in SRC, so or we're above SRC slash app slash to do. I'll do the same thing except types. Okay. I'll commit those first changes first. Should have done that earlier. Um, adjusted task type and removed created at slash ID logic from front end. Okay, cool. And then yes, you're right. I do not want to submit that. In fact, I'll probably just do. No, let's do this first because the UUID change will be a slightly bigger change, I think.
And it's a separate thing too, so
It is a separate thing,
do
yeah.
all of the dates, timestamp stuff all at once.
Back end. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so one thing we talked about off camera is how we're going to generate this UUID, and I think we settled on a JavaScript library called UUID. So I'm going to go ahead and npm install that. Okay, looks like everything went through all right. Okay, so we'll go ahead and import that library here. In fact, we're going to import v4, which is one of the functions provided. There are many, but this seems to be sort of a standard function from UUID. Oh, you don't like this? Was declared, but its value was never read. Cannot find declaration file for module. Okay, let's make sure that I'm actually importing this correctly. I'm gonna bring this
Try
over
try that
here.
try that as. I know that's just an alias, but it does want that they suggest that whole like v4 as UUID v4.
Okay, okay, let's try
I don't know if
this.
that's gonna make.
Could not find declaration file for module. Okay, are we? Where are we looking here? Upskill and chill node modules. Okay. Implicitly has any type.
Hmm.
It's the quick fix. Remove import. No, not that. Install types. Delete all unused imports. Okay, hold on. Let me pull this back. Um, so is this a typing problem? Let me pull this back up again. And we're just gonna consult our friend the internet. See if other people have dealt with this issue before. From UID. Okay, same issue. I was experiencing this. Import UID from UID. Huh.
Oh,
Huh.
UUID might be a front end package,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
and so you're working on the server side technically. So we might not be able to use UUID. So there is, and this is what I was thinking about before, I just forgot the name. There is a built-in JavaScript crypto library from which we can get random UUID.
Oh, I did see that come up, and the issue with that is that that is a node library and not client side. But then that should work in our Next.js backend, I suppose.
It should, because we're it's a node environment, right?
Okay, then let's give that a try. So let me uninstall UUID.
This is just a guess, but that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Because I found an issue where somebody has the reverse issue where they're trying in Next.js to use the crypto library, and the answer
Mm,
was crypto is built into Node. You can't use it on the client side, so they're suggesting use UUID. So if we flip that
okay.
around, then
Oh, okay. Let's give it a try. Is it
we,
crypto just crypto? CRYPTO?
yeah, yeah. So
Like
this
like that?
it's so import brackets and then random and then UUID all in caps from crypto.
But this is the library, just crypto.
Sorry, let me get to your screen. Where are you looking here?
Down here.
Oh, no, I don't think you have to import anything. I think it's built into like
It's built
modern
into
Node.
Node.
Yeah,
Oh, very
so
cool. Okay.
import brackets random and then UUID all in caps from string crypto. And then see if you can call random UUID as a function.
Okay. So D equals random UUID. So far, so good.
Hey! Okay. Nice,
Okay.
nice.
And then let's log this.
Because
Okay.
I specifically do remember seeing some sort of an update at one point in time where people are saying, "Oh, say goodbye to UUID because it's just going to be native now."
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But I
Well,
guess
that would
that's
be very
only
convenient.
in Node. I guess that's only in Node, like backend, because, like I said, this is like 2 years old, but this person was trying to use this built-in crypto on the
Hey,
front end, and it's not allowed. Maybe it's
it
a
does appear.
security. Maybe it's a security thing, like you were talking about before, not wanting to reveal IDs of things on the client side, so they restrict
Yeah,
it
yeah.
specifically to node environments only on the back end.
That would make sense. And it does seem to have worked. So
Fantastic.
I
Yeah.
think we're in a good place here.
Nice.
Um, so now the task at hand will be to implement that inside this data object. I'm a big fan of small commits, so I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick. Added UID from crypto for ID generation. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, we could do something like this, and that should actually populate our
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So what we're sending is a stringified task object. That's what you're receiving as your and then you're doing request.json, so you're pulling the body out. So that pulls
that's
it out
right.
of JSON format. So yeah, that should work.
Okay.
Wait.
And then the
No,
before
yeah.
we actually test this, we'll have to do some other things too. We will have to change some types and then perform a migration.
We're gonna get really good at migration.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna be the migration kings here.
I already have a lot of ducks walk through my backyard, and now they're gonna start coming to ask me for advice.
I love it.
Dad joke number one of the day, maybe of the stream. Maybe that's number one. We should start a counter.
Okay. I love it.
Represent.
Let me think. The UUID must be a string. It's my guess, since
I'm
they're
assuming.
all characters. Let me not assume. I want to assume that too,
I'm sure
but
it is. It's not a number.
it couldn't be, right? Because there are letters and such.
Yeah, even if it's
Um,
it's hexadecimal, which includes the letters, it's gonna be a string because it's letters numbers.
okay, so we're going to get rid of this default, and we are going to convert this into a string. We'll leave the ID. Uh, what do you call it? Leave the ID decorator because it's still our ID. It still has to be unique when
Oh, that's
submitted.
what that does. Okay.
Yeah, it also once we start including other tables that potentially have to refer to our tasks, that will be the point at which other tables can reference this table.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a flag, like you're marking it as an ID to the rest of the ecosystem of the like
Yeah,
database. Okay. Okay.
exactly.
Interesting.
So it's our point of connection if we have to use foreign keys, which we'll get to later. Um,
Oh boy.
okay, and I think this is all we need to do. Obviously, I'll have to do the migration. Uh, Prisma, not Primza.
We're never
I
never
take a
gonna.
moment every time now.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was having an experience earlier today, and I guess I'll out myself on stream. Um, but I had this thought after this morning. I got on. I streamed a bit this morning, and I was trying to update some stuff in my NeoVim config, and I've been streaming that just for the fun of it. And I was trying to make some new key maps that were going to do some nice stuff for me, and it just was not working. And I spent a lot of time until I finally realized I was editing the key maps file from my old config and
Oh
not
no.
my new one. And my initial like build of those key maps, it's not like they were complicated, but my initial build of them was 100% correct, and it could have been all done in like 10 minutes. But I was sitting there for like an hour trying to figure out why why the key maps are just not available and not working until I finally got that figured out. And then afterwards, I was just beating myself up about it, and I had this thought about actually, I think coding on stream might actually be an incredibly good learning tool because the
Mhm.
mistakes you make in public in front of other people on stage as musicians, those are the
Sure.
mistakes that like burn into your memory, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
telling yourself I'm never making that mistake again, right? But if you just quietly fail in your basement by yourself, you think to yourself, oh, that's interesting, oh, so stupid, and then you keep moving on. But it doesn't
Yeah.
make it doesn't come along with that little sting that kind of like makes you remember. And so now, like this spelling of Prisma, you have that now. Every time you're going to go to type that
Every
word,
time I
there's
see
going to
it,
be that little bit of
even by myself, I sit there and
yeah,
go, "Did I spell it right? Okay, good."
yeah. But like you've actually learned and like ingrained something because you went through like the little bit of like embarrassment and like pain, if you will, that went along with that mistake. And now I'm like, when I go to edit my NeoVim config, I'm going to make sure I'm in the right files, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But beyond
That's a good point.
NeoVim, like in any project, is like, am I editing this in the right place? Right? And that's not a
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
like question to just have like automatically jump. So I don't know. I probably should write a little post or something about it, about how maybe like learning on stream, learning in public for that reason is actually like very beneficial to you.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think actually, that's a really good point. We should clip that later.
I probably will.
I'm telling the future right now.
Hello, everybody. Hi, clip.
Okay, I just wanted to walk through this real quick. It's asking if we want to create and apply this migration because if we do, see, it says primary key for test table will be changed if it partially fails. The table could be left without primary key constraint. I think we're going to have to get rid of everything that's currently in the table, and generally speaking, that happens automatically. But in case it doesn't, we'll clear our table
Oh, you mean like all
because
the
what's
current
in there right
data?
now, yeah, which
Oh,
has just been practice data,
yeah, yeah.
but worth talking through.
Wipe it,
Um,
clean it, scrub it.
changed ID and created at types. Yeah, that'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
That will do, pig. Okay.
I'm
And then something that happens automatically that we also talked about off camera, but I think it's worth mentioning. Spencer was driving last week. He created some migrations, and I pulled them down. He posted them to our GitHub, and I pulled them down today. And I was having issues uh, because I think I had to generate a new client through Prisma. And so what I ended up doing was migrating dev locally, even though there were no changes to make. What it did do is generate a new Prisma client for me, and I think that that is an important part of making sure we're on the same version and page when it comes to handling these changes.
I'll have to remember to do that myself next time I pull your stuff down too.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. We might run headfirst into that. Okay, so now that we've done that, I think we're ready to probably test this. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the server. And where is this? I'm going to go ahead and actually move this into here. Okay. Let's load our page up. With any luck, there will be no errors. Everything will be nice and easy.
Nice and bright, monochrome.
Love it. Scrunched up against each other. Look at all this white space. We're
I
design
think this is the
geniuses.
future of web design. Everybody's going to go for this really minimalistic 1980s kind of look. Let's get those tiled backgrounds back again too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Description. Make it look very nice. Priority, I think, is very high, right?
Love it.
Ooh, look at all this. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Let's go ahead and.
updating on every keystroke.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, we submitted. Task created successfully. Let's make sure that
Oh,
the back end agrees. Hey, no
that's
error.
awesome.
Okay.
Finally.
Now let's check our neon. I'll pull this over here
Oh
too.
my gosh, that feels so good.
Oops. Refresh the wrong page. Here we go. Okay, here it is. We've got
Yes.
our new ID, our new fancy UUID. I'm gonna go ahead and delete these.
So pretty. Such a pretty ID.
Gorgeous. Okay,
Gorgeous.
we've got our created at. Does it give me any more
Timestamp.
information here on the
Nice.
types and such?
I'm sure it's a string.
It must be. Okay,
I mean, we sent it as a
excellent.
string. That's what we did.
That we did. Okay, I think that's worth
Ah,
a commit, don't you?
yeah. And a little bit of a team high five. We got there. We got
Bam.
there. Boom. We got the front end. We have the form. The form is fully typed and also dynamically typed and scalable, which I think is awesome. I've really enjoyed learning about all that like event and type form type handling and whatnot. That was super sweet.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. That was a big education.
And then we created our form. We create our form type. We got the Prisma, thanks to your masterclass. We got the Prisma integration and the backend route, and then you also hooked us up with Neon as our database cloud service. And now we can successfully, from the front end, send a to-do item to the back end and to the database. So the last piece in the cycle then is going to be pulling the to-dos from the database back
That's
into the
right.
front end when you log into the app.
And actually, we'll want to do one more thing to allow that. Let me finish writing this. Sorry, I'm
We have
talking
to
and
make a
trying to
get
do a
request.
different thing.
We have to make
That's
a
right.
get endpoint. Yeah.
Okay, so I migrated. I'll just call it this. New migration for ID and created at columns. Ooh, origin. Okay. And I guess since I'm Mr. Backend over here, I'll go ahead and handle that, and then maybe I'll pass it to you for the front end ification of our data.
Sure.
That's okay with
I'm
you.
gonna try and kind of guess what you're gonna do each time because I kind of like sketched this out in my notes. A question I had about this was,
Yes.
so the name of this file is route, and that's a specific name, but the name of the directory it's inside of is important, and I think that's currently task, right?
Yes, that's right, because that actually indicates the route,
Right.
if that
That's
makes
the
sense.
endpoint.
So
The endpoint is task.
yeah, there you go. That's the endpoint
And
exactly.
so then, if I'm not mistaken, you could do multiple things from the same endpoint, right? So here we
Hmm.
have a post. So if your method is a post sent to that endpoint, we're going to get the post request feedback. We can go through that process. If we send a get request to that endpoint, we're going to do the get function, but it's all through that same slash task endpoint. Um,
Exactly.
is there is this how things are typically built, or would it be beneficial to have a like get all tasks endpoint and a save task endpoint so that the name of the endpoint indicates what it does? I could see it both
I
ways
think
because you could have just
yeah,
documentation that says at the task endpoint, here's your get request, here's your get method, your post method, your delete method, all that jazz.
I think it depends. There's potentially a use case for as like a tool for us to have what I'm building now, which is just going to be return all tasks,
Mhm.
regardless of who they belong to. Um, and what we'll probably do eventually is like a variation on what you're talking about. So you can imagine in the future we'll have like a users route, right? Because we'll have our own users, and then in the user route, we'll start returning just the users set of tasks. So you might
Right.
have like slash user slash task or something to that nature. Um, but generally, the what I've seen, and this may not be accurate to how a lot of people do it, but I think it is that like if you can fit multiple methods, get or post or what have you, into the same route, that's generally considered like
Okay.
common practice. I think probably just because it removes having so many different routes to look through. It's a
Yeah.
little like once you get used to how the routes work, it's kind of
Yeah.
easy to think of.
Yeah. I can see that.
Um,
Can you have
yeah,
multiple of the same method on the same endpoint? Or because that
multiple.
would get
No,
confusing clearly. Yeah, like you have
no, you
task
cannot.
and you can't have more than one get method on that task endpoint, right?
No,
Okay.
no. At least I don't think in this Next.js ecosystem you can.
I don't see why you
Uh,
even would want to, but I'm just curious.
no, yeah. You could potentially maybe do that in like an Express server. This might be like the kind of thing that
Mm,
where there's way more tools available and way more options because you're building out like routers and controllers in
yeah,
that scenario
yeah,
that could help with that. But to your point, I don't think you need to. In general, the logic doesn't work out that way. So
yeah. Okay.
okay,
All right, cool.
but here we are. I'm just going to go ahead and write this out now. And so what are we passing? Oh yeah, .json. Right now, my thought was that we would just return all tasks, and
Yeah,
then once
yeah,
we have users, we can start atomizing that a little bit. Um,
absolutely.
so we'll need tasks, which will be what is that? An array of tasks. Right now, I'll just pass an empty array, and we're going to pass tasks in, and we'll give it a status of 200. Okay, so how do we get our tasks? What we need to do is,
I have the method if you want it.
oh yeah, yeah, hit me with it.
Yeah, await
Prisma.task.
prisma.task.find many camel case.
Okay. Oh, camel case.
Yep,
Yeah, I think it might be. Well, let's try that. I think it actually might be. What is this called?
Pascal.
Oh no, it is camel case. I was thinking you were saying snake case for some reason. Never mind.
No, no, yeah, camel
Okay.
case. Different animal.
Uh, yeah, that's right. And then, do I pass any arguments, or since we're
I
finding
don't think
many,
so.
can
I
we?
think it's just that's just gonna pull everything.
Okay. And then, what is it not like about this? Maybe I actually don't type it, do I? Let's take that
You
out.
could, but are you pulling in the task type here? I guess it's in that declaration file, so it's global.
It
Oh, look
already
at that!
knows.
It's just yeah, it's just pulling it probably out of the Prisma.
Yeah, I think that's what it is doing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Prisma
Okay.
has the type, and then it's just inferring it off of the data from Prisma.
Okay. Let's go ahead and see if it returns anything. I'm going to go ahead and open a new call. Go ahead and copy this endpoint. But we're making a GET request now. Luckily, since it's a GET request, we don't have to pass any body or anything in. We're just going to go ahead and send this off, see what gets returned. Okay, we only have one
Yeah.
entry, but here it is.
Boom.
Nice and easy.
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and commit this. I'll push it up to or I'll pull request it into our main
Okay.
branch, our master branch, and then you can pull that sucker down. Okay, A, do added get route for task. Oops, I added. Didn't seem to matter. Get push origin port. Let's navigate over to our handy GitHub. Okay, where are we at? I always forget. Oh gosh, this was the wrong way to do this. Oh, I remember. It's over here.
I think you can search for it.
That's true.
Oh, it's
I,
it's
I
that's right. It's not your
it's
repo,
not my repo. Yeah.
right? Have you
Okay.
starred it? You should star it.
Oh, will that change things for me? That
Go ahead and do your commit here, but then it puts it into a favorite list at least.
okay. Let's see. Changes to API calls. I'm just gonna write some basic things. I would usually do a nice format and everything for this, but for right now, since we're on stream and the essence of getting things done, I'll just write a couple things here. Changed types models for task. Say ID created at built get route for API task. And then we'll just mention. Actually, we actually didn't end up including any more libraries. We didn't
No,
install anything
we didn't.
after all, so we don't need to say that. Okay, go ahead and pull this into the master branch. Confirming my own pull request. Ah!
Shame on you.
I'll never recover. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the screen over to you then, Spencer. Oh,
So, verbal reminder to both of us that I will have to do a migration.
yes, that is correct.
So let's.
We could confirm that just to make sure that that was the problem too. You could try submitting something and see if
Yeah.
that works for you or not.
All right. So there's our pull from master, and now I think I should be able to see get switch dash m Spencer. Now, did it merge? Is my question. I'm not sure if that actually did the merge, but
Is that what dash M is supposed to do?
I thought so. I thought it was supposed to merge your branch into the branch you're going to before you. I don't know, but I'm gonna do a because it didn't say anything here. It doesn't have
Hmm.
a commit. So I've had to remind myself recently that merge is a pulling action. So you want to be on the branch that you want to merge into. and then you
Yes.
name the branch you want and pull it in. I constantly have to remind myself that. Git merge master. There we go.
Okay, there it is.
Git
So it
status.
looks like that dash M
Commit.
didn't do it.
No, it didn't. So I'm gonna have to go back and look at my my fancy dancy switch and its flags. But so I'm gonna get I'll get push this just as there as all of those commits. Now they're up there for this branch and start here. So we can open up NeoVim and we're gonna go to the to-do page, and here we are. And let's see, these are, oops, those are not necessary anymore, right? Oh, I don't know. This is the
No.
this object. This object is no, because they're. You set it up properly. You made them optional, so we don't have
Right.
to denote them here. So that should be just fine. Okay, so we're gonna have to componentize this
Hmm.
page event, this whole page into maybe some things eventually. But for right now, we're just making it all one thing, and so we're going to. All right, we're going to pull down on component render. So we need a use effect. And I know I've been seeing stuff for a while. It says you're not supposed to make fetch calls inside of use effect anymore in React, but
Oh, really?
I'm gonna have to do some research as to like exactly what the alternative is. I'm not. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that's. I could be wrong about this about like being contentious. Like do it this way, don't do it this way. I don't know. It works, and that's the pattern I know. I'm gonna have to update that pattern, but I'll research it for next time, and then we can update if we need to. But we're gonna do a use effect. Um, here, and then inside that use effect, we're going to, let's see. So we're going to fetch tasks from database is what we're going to do there. But we need a place to store these tasks once we call them down. So we need a new line of state. So I'm going to here. So do we call this tasks then?
Yeah, I think so. That would make sense to me.
So then it's going to be an array of tasks. Is that how we denote that in the? Oops.
That sounds right to me.
Oops.
Hmm.
I think that's going to be, yeah. So and we initialize it as an empty array.
That's why I love working with arrays. You can just initialize the empty array. You don't have to worry about null or anything like that.
Yeah. So far so good. I think that's fine. So then here we need to make a fetch call. So it's going to be let's see, const res equals await. Is there a problem? Do I have to make this async, but then you can't async inside of use effect? Maybe I'm
How'd you do
wrong
it?
about
How'd you do it under for the post request? Like a little lower on our in this same
that.
file.
This isn't inside of a use effect. I for some reason I have a memory now of recently running into where like you're not supposed to await,
Oh,
like you can't async inside of a use effect, but I don't.
you did a try catch instead of use effect. Is that correct? Or did you do it inside of a use effect call?
I'm not sure. Let's
Wait,
type this out and see if it works real quick, and then
okay.
we can. So fetch, and then it's slash API, right? If I remember correctly,
Slash API, correct?
slash API slash task, and
Hmm.
then we're gonna go over here, and it's just gonna be a get request because we're not. If we don't say what it is, it just defaults to get request, right?
That's correct.
And then
Hmm.
here, this is what I was thinking. Await expressions are only allowed within async functions. Yes, but then I don't know if I can make asynchronous prevent race conditions, put the async function inside. Okay. So I think this is the funky thing where we const, I don't know, make call async. And then
Right.
make
and
call.
then just make call. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's what it was. Yep. I knew there was something. I knew there was something that was going to come up with that async await. That was one of my light bulbs going off like there, but I didn't know. Yeah, you just have to make it a function inside the use effect instead of just doing the flat use effect. So, but now we're good. And then this, since it's this function is not asynchronous though. Yes, it is. So we have to await this technically. No,
Async functions.
no, it's not screaming at. Yeah, see.
Oh no, because you're already awaiting inside of the function, right?
Yep. Okay. So this is maybe where to be appropriate or thorough, supposed to do a oops, yeah, console dot. We'll do console dot error. Get that formatted by Prettier. Thank you very much, Prettier. Okay, so we've got our res, and this should be JSON, right?
Yes.
So then we want
Yeah, we're
const data await res dot JSON.
Mhm.
I think that's right. And then we'll
Sounds right.
and then I guess if we just want to go all the way here, we'll set tasks to data.
Feels right.
I think that will be. I think I got that right. Okay, and then let's see. This will happen on page load. We'll want to eventually trigger this after we make a submission so that it'll pull down the freshest batch of to-dos from the database. But let's pause here for one moment and npm run dev over in my other terminal. And let's
just see if this works.
yeah, let's move this over here. I'm gonna have to refresh this because this is old after when I had the server running once before. Let's see, we didn't do the migration, so we might have to do that. We'll see. Could not convert value of field ID to type int. Oh, what?
Okay, let's try the
Type
migration and
global
see.
type number. The
Oh,
I.
it's a string now. Did I not change that earlier?
I thought you did, and I.
No, I didn't. I definitely missed that.
Oh, in the type.
In the task type, it should be a string, but
Create
I left everything in here.
ideas or ideas are string.
Actually, both of them
Both
need to
of
be
them are.
strings
Yeah,
now. Yeah, I think I did it in
you did it in the Prisma.
the Prisma file.
Yeah,
Yes,
everything on the back end was fine. This was the front end type. I
we
guess.
knew there was going to be something.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's okay. It gave me something. So now we got that. So looks like we should be able to. Let's do a refresh again. Check our. Oh, could not convert value of field ID to type in. So I think we do have to do that migration. Yeah, this is a Prisma error.
Yeah, inconsistent column data. Okay, that makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep. Okay. How do I? What's the command for that again?
It's npx prisma migrate dev.
Prisma migrate. I'm gonna have to save that command somewhere so that we should probably just put it in our README, honestly, if we start making some documentation about like our process so that we don't have to memorize it.
Ooh, good point.
It's working. It's working.
I need to read up on what's actually happening here. So
There we go.
I maybe don't understand what a Prisma client is as well as I thought I did. Because it seems like we need to generate a new one every time we create a new migration. Because I think that's what you just did. You didn't actually perform a migration since you already had all the files in there, but you did generate a new Prisma client there, and I think that's what will probably let this work
The client
correctly.
needs you have to rebuild the client if you make changes. right? That the
Yeah.
client now needs. So your files are in like the new version, but your client hasn't caught up yet. So you have to rebuild to like change those data points and whatnot, probably.
Okay.
Let's see if this will to do. I see a yeah, get okay task. Oh, here, hey, look at that. Get API task. What is that we see? What is that we see? And I didn't console log anything. uh,
Nice.
uh,
It
okay.
didn't dislike it, so that's a good start.
So much like this console log, let's put this down here and say tasks, and we'll just console log our tasks and go back to the browser, clear, refresh, tasks. There's an item in here,
All
and that's what I
right.
can do. One shot. Look at almost kind of. I'll say point 0.75 or like 1.5 shot maybe. We made it. There it is. That's awesome. So then, really quickly here, just to have the full satisfaction, let's go below our form and let's make another div. And I need to check my auto pairs plugin because it's not creating the ending point for me.
Oh,
And let's go tasks.map, and we'll map through those tasks, and we will. Oh, actually, I don't think I. Let's do this the short form. I don't need that if I'm going to just do a. See what kind of. We'll just do another div
yeah,
again,
that's fine.
just to keep stuff super simple here.
You
Um,
could do list items too,
oh yeah, you could. Yeah. Yep. Let's
but
do
I mean
that.
a div is fine. Let's just. Oh, okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Uh. Oh, I need each task here,
that's
which
correct.
is of type task. Is that beneficial? I don't know. We'll just put that task. It needs a key. That's right, and that the key is just going to be our task.id. Task is not assignable type React node task. What? Okay, wait, hold on a second. Type task is not assignable to type React node.
Oh well, you should probably do task name for the task inside the curly brackets between the div opening and closing tags.
Uh, oh, okay. I guess I was just gonna try
Yeah.
and like just like spray the whole thing out on the screen. Um,
I
but
don't think it likes that for some reason.
okay, so then that makes much more sense to have the ULLI business. So
Could you? I'm curious. Can you like spread the task in? Maybe that would do what you were trying to accomplish, like spread operator
oh
task.
yeah,
Like,
let's try it. No, because you're not building an object here. This is JSX, right? The brackets mean something different.
oh,
Um,
right. That's right.
so if we
Task name. Task name.
yeah, you're right. Task name. So we have a
And then
UL and then an
you want to
LI.
do the UL outside of this this JSX you're doing right now, basically, because it would be like building. What you're doing now is building a
Oh,
separate list for
a
each
list.
item.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
This is supposed to be the UL.
there you go.
Okay. Well, that makes the stuff in here simpler, at least.
Yeah, much easier to read at least.
Because then the key. Let's cut that. Delete that. The key is going to go. Oops. Right here. Um, yes. Save that for some prettification, and then we can do description. Is it the full word? Did we? Okay.
Yeah,
Um, what? Must have one parent element. Okay. You want me to return
yeah, of course.
a fragment inside of here as well? I thought it was okay. I guess yeah, because we're doing a return. Because it's returning, it needs to be
Yeah,
inside. Yep. Okay. Um, okay. We'll just yeah, just because I'm fiddling here on this, but I just want to see it. Boom.
there it is.
There it is.
Beautiful.
There's our full data. So then I can do another task, something else to do, and medium, and submit. And then because we haven't set this up yet, but let's give it a second, I'll refresh, and there's our second
There's our
task.
other task. Love it.
We have a working to do app now. This is awesome. This is sweet.
We can finally,
Finally
we
do our
can
to dos.
finally
Yeah.
build our to dos.
And I think this is finally going to give us the excuse we need to actually spend a couple of episodes just styling this thing up a little bit.
I think so too.
Like putting things into a proper place, breaking stuff out from the to do as components, right?
Hmm.
Creating a task component to generate here, making a form component.
Yeah, breaking things out. So
I
that
really
we're
enjoy
not.
doing that kind of stuff too. That's it's
I,
just
I like that too.
fun
Yeah,
organizational work. Um, but yeah, rock solid, man. We did it. We did it.
we've
Okay,
taken it from zero to fully operational at this
to fully
point. There's
operational.
still some things, even
Yeah,
outside of styling. One thing I was thinking, it would be nice to have a get route. I'm sorry, a delete route and an update route for each of these individual tasks. Um, right now I can just log into the database directly and delete records if that's what we need to do. But ultimately, you might want to actually delete some item that you've put on your list. So there's like a million other things that we'll need to do, but we have the bare bones of a to-do list set up. We can both create and see the entire list.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. We should. Yeah, we'll go through all of those. Editing as well. Editing items.
Hmm. That's right.
Prioritizing, sorting, filtering, all that stuff. Um, I didn't give this a lot of thought. I just kind of went with my first instinct. I tried to update the use effect. I'm going to see if this will pull after we submit. I don't think it will.
How'd you update the use effect,
No,
Jesse?
I didn't think so. I just put tasks, the tasks array inside of the
Right.
dependency.
Yeah,
Uh,
because we don't automatically check for that. I was thinking about this when you mentioned it. I guess what we would have to do is somehow maybe create a variable that detects even just like a Boolean that switches every time we submit. And so it would watch that Boolean value, and then when it changes, the use effect will run. That feels a little
do we
janky,
do
honestly,
you
but
know
like
what?
that would
Here,
work.
we're getting a response back from this call, right?
Yes.
Uh, sorry, not the get call. Obviously, we're getting the response back, but our post call, right? We're posting,
Yes.
and
Uh huh.
we're getting a response back from that post. Once it's been
Hmm.
posted, it can then be pulled, right? So in theory, right? Once we've submitted the task, it's been posted on the back end. We get a 200 response, which says, "Hey, it worked." Can we trigger off of that response to then refresh the front end and then pull?
Yeah, I guess
I think that's how you
there must be a way.
there's a
I
pattern
gue
to it.
the other thing is, if when we submit, it doesn't empty out and reset all of the fields, right? Um,
Oh,
like
that's
after you
something
click
else that we
submit,
should do. Yeah. It doesn't clear it out. We can do that. That's
because
cool.
if we do that, then task will change, I think.
Well, I mean, I was doing off of tasks, the the array here.
Alright, because then
Because
every
we're
time
setting
we
that, right, when we
type something.
submit.
Hmm.
Let's see, we submit. Oh, but we don't update that on submit, do we? Okay, yes, that was the wrong idea. Absolutely the wrong idea. I think we should be able to trigger it. So we can have we're gonna have to. Okay, we pull this out of the use effect. We take this, and I guess okay, it's 3 o'clock. Do we want to go a little bit longer, or are we good for today? Because what I was going to say is we pull this function out of the use effect, and then we can trigger it two different ways. One, we can make a trigger for it in the use effect on first load, but then we can also just call that same function when we get a 200 response from the server on the post request.
Well, to answer your first question, I'm down to go a little longer to solve this.
Okay.
Um, that could work. I was thinking about because you were talking about how the we get the return right
Hmm.
from. Is it possible to append that returned task to our current set tasks? I mean, to our current set of tasks. Because then you could actually watch what you were talking. You could watch tasks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think it's a little weird. I guess in my experience, let's
It
see,
doesn't work like that usually, huh?
Where's our submit, right? So, um, hmm,
Could like
we have the.
set tasks, spread, and then add the
Hmm.
response basically to the end of it.
I mean, so something we could do locally very easily would be like on submit. When we send the submit to task, we could also
Mm,
just update the local state with that same task that we're submitting. But that also makes the assumption that it's going to be accepted and successful on the back end. And then if it's not, then you're out of sync.
right.
So that's
But
why I
that's
was
what I'm
thinking
saying.
I
Like,
wanted to wait for the response back from the back end to say, hey, we're good. Go ahead and pull. And then you get the most updated source.
right.
I'm not
So
sure if
how
I
does that?
followed what your suggestion was. So maybe you could
Yeah, what I'm
that.
saying is you would get that response because we are sending back um, the newly minted task essentially from the database,
Hmm.
um, with a successful response. And I was thinking that in that same call you would like append or sorry, rather push the that task into our array of tasks. Now that is not an automatic update from the API, but it is essentially the same thing. I don't know. There might be a reason not to do that too.
I
Like, could
think
you
I'd
set
rather keep
tasks
it
and
like as a just a cycle instead of
okay.
if we're going to be pulling from a fetch request somehow. I think we should just
Mm,
keep that consistent instead of having like
okay.
the response from the post call update the get call, but we're also updating the get call with a get call. If you know what I mean, I'm not using my
Mm, mm.
terminology there. Um, so let me check this. So here, let's try this. So I think what we do, and we're gonna maybe name this something better as well. But um, where do I want to put this? We'll just put it here for right now. We'll worry about organization later. We're gonna say get tasks.
Mm.
We'll rename it first, just because that was a terrible name. Um,
Make call.
I don't know. I was just throwing something in there to like get it through and working.
Of course.
Uh, so then here, what we should be able to do is if res dot okay, then we um, get tasks, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because we got an okay from the server,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That makes.
then we're just going to call our get tasks, which is then going to make the call and update our local state. This doesn't need to be here anymore. That needs to be, oops, in here. And that's as simple as the use effect is going to be.
Right, because the use effect will just on render call it.
Yep, on page load,
Make the
it'll
call.
call that same one. So it's one function. So that way we also maintainable. It's very maintainable that way. One
Yeah.
function, we've encapsulated that logic, and then we're just calling it in two different places. And let us find out. We pull this upon. Oh, geez. Submit. Let's see.
Hey, I love it.
There
Nice
it
work.
is.
Nice work.
I know a little bit of something about front end at least. A
A little bit of something. I like it.
little bit of something about React and front end. There it is. That's our pattern right there. Okay. Okay. Good. Um Yeah, beautiful. So now it's updating from the database. As soon as we send it from the front end, we get an okay, and we respond, and then instantly updates on the front end. That's exactly what you want. That's lovely. Oh, that feels so good to have that done. Ah, so cool. Yeah, now we need a like clear all like in the database.
Yeah, exactly. Which we can do
Yeah,
maybe another time.
a delete button, edit, delete, clear all. That should be like an ad. If we're gonna do that, it'd be an admin function. But uh, oh, that feels really good. That feels really good.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about having all of that because you're right. Because now we can say, what are we gonna do next week? Style.
Here, I'll go ahead and delete these that are currently
Sure,
in
sure,
our
sure.
database, and then yeah, we can actually enter some real things.
We can
So
start
yeah, we talked
fresh.
about styling, and we
I
also
think
talked
it's
about
time.
componentizing.
Oh, also validation. So there's a whole bunch to do
Right.
yet, but I think maybe it'd be kind of fun to take a break from the programmatic logic side of things for a little bit and have some fun with Tailwind.
I think so too.
Be a nice change of pace.
Why don't we set our high priority then
Okay.
to styling our components?
Are we clear over here?
We are clear over
We're
here.
clear. Okay. So, um style this page. Use Tailwind CSS to make geez, everything pretty. And yes, that is going to be a high. Oops. Nope. Arrow keys are there and submit. Yeah.
All right.
There we are. And we can add there's obviously more to that to do to each of those to dos that we could put on screen. Like we could display the priority. Um, we could also
That's true.
actually give these like the name that they are.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, totally.
And just really really quickly. Oh wait, does it? Do we
I
put that?
guess the
We don't need that key on all of the individual line items. That's why I had it wrapped in the UL originally, even though I don't think that
yeah. I guess you would. This would be a case for making the fragment a div
a div
potentially.
inside of the well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a
That's
list li or
oh no. Sorry.
this
This would be
l
an li would be the wrap, and then you would
yeah
have
yep
whatever inside
paragraph
of it.
texts. Yeah, I just got there myself. Yes. So
Yeah.
okay, so this should be the li, and then each one of these should be like a p or something. We can figure that out exactly later. Oh man, I got to figure out what's going on with my auto pairs. Um, uh, no, v back clear. No, too far. Clear. Missing key prop, then the key task ID. Yep.
All right.
Okay. There's our then description, and then I wanted to do this one too. And we could put the date and all that jazz too, but there it is. Task name, description, priority. Yeah, I'm glad we figured that. Yeah. Yes. So that is our high priority. And then we also, yeah, we need to clear these out. We need to reset these on submit. That's super easy. But what's the next?
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Um,
Well, you could. I suppose you could add that to our to-do list. A low priority
yeah, add form
someday.
validation. Use Zod on front end, back end? Question mark.
Hmm.
Medium priority. We'll add that one. That feels so good. And then yeah, clear form form fields
Yeah, feels right.
on submit. And that one actually doesn't really feel like it needs a description. That one's
Yeah, it's pretty
self-explanatory.
clear.
Oh, that is so sweet. And now we're gonna come back to this next time, and we can start actually using this and displaying it on stream the whole time. That's super cool. I'm like a little kid. This just feels so good. It's just like, wow, it
It's
worked.
thrilling. It's it's the most thrilled I've ever been of building, like, a to-do app because
Yeah.
this is for the first time I've actually intended to use the app that we're building.
Or like there was an intention behind building it as opposed to like React 101, let's build a to-do app, and you go, okay, I guess, okay, fine, type, 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 type. But
Yeah,
this
totally.
was actually like our decision, and it's had a whole different purpose or built around it, and feels great. It'll be really fun once we get into like sorting, filtering logic. I enjoy that kind of stuff too. Okay,
Same.
so we went a little long, but I think we're looking super solid here. I'm very happy with this. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen and we can close this thing down. That was yes, super successful.
Awesome. Well, this was a good day. Thanks for rocking with us, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully somebody else was here to enjoy that, or maybe it was just our own experience, and that's fine too.
Just our duo.
I had a good time, so nice. Any closing thoughts, Courtney?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is complex and hard, and yet so simple in its own way. Um, it's funny, like what we did, many people have done before, and it's made up of very simple component parts, but frankly, like it's easy to get lost in the sauce. There's a lot going on with it, with every step uh, of generating data and having it, like moving it from one place to another. That's the task at hand. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah. And making sure those all those handoffs work appropriately, especially once you get into like
Yeah.
strictly typing things, using TypeScript, putting it into a database where your type schema is strictly laid out for you. And then that's what happened
Mm.
last week. I intended to get through this and maybe even more last week in that episode. And then we just ended up like missing that handshake constantly between the front end and the back end because our types did not align and they were Prisma was not happy with us. So there's always little kind of snares and catches that come up and happen.
I guess one thing I'd mention is I think things go faster when you check your work uh, more often.
Uh,
One thing I don't always do when I build my own projects, I noticed today, is like when we were creating the new timestamp, the UUID. That's not always the kind of thing where I would like check each step. Be like, okay, what is the type of the created at? Is it actually in a string? Is it this or is it that? Sometimes I assume that it's going to work the way I think it's going to work, and you never know if you messed up the call to string. Does that even exist in JavaScript? It does, but you never know. I When we were thinking of converting something to a number, I thought that I could just do dot to number, and
yeah,
now I would have run into that problem, but best to run into it right after I create the problem instead of down the line where I've created many different things and now I'm having to check
mm,
every single thing. I think
yeah,
that's a faster paradigm.
yeah, yeah. That idea of doing one thing and making sure everything still works, and then do another
Yes.
thing and making sure everything still works. Because once something breaks, you can narrow down much better where things have gone wrong. That's a very good point, and that helps so much with productivity and efficiency. And
Mm.
I definitely fall prey to that often as well. I get into that flow state, and I have like this long arc of thought of like, okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to go here and make this change, and then carry this edit over here. I've done that on projects before, where I just like fly through this idea of this, then over to this file, and then over to this file, and this thing, making all these changes in this long sequence to get to the end, and then you hit go, and it doesn't work. And it's like,
Yeah.
where in the last like 2 hours of time did I make a mistake? And it's the worst feeling. And it's such a time
Yeah,
sink.
it's
So you're absolutely right.
food for thought.
Yeah. It's good food. Tasty. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And I'm looking forward to next time now that we've committed to doing some Tailwind. That's gonna be super fun.
Yes, me too, me too. This is a place where I could use a lot of growth, so I'm looking forward to seeing what you have to teach.
I will teach what I can. I feel like I'm pretty competent with Tailwind, um, but I have a lot to learn as well, or even just review. So we'll have the docs up. I'll have the docs up a whole bunch. The nice thing is the Tailwind docs are amazing. They're super
Mm,
easy
that
to
they are.
follow.
Very
So
searchable too.
Oh, so searchable. And there's this awesome Tailwind cheat sheet site that makes it just condenses. It doesn't have all the explanation text. You can just search
Mm,
on there like height, and then it just like reduces its options. And then you got the height option. You click to expand that, and it just gives you like the simplest little blurb about how to use and what your options are. It takes all the paragraphs of like height is implemented through a CSS paradigm of blah blah blah, like all that stuff just gone, and it's just like just the commands, right? That's a really useful tool. We'll check that out next time. Looking forward to it.
beautiful.
Cool. Nice long Minnesota goodbye from me here, but we're calling it to an end. So we'll see everybody next week, probably on Friday. We'll let you know.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Courtney. See you guys.
All right.
All right, we are officially in the behind the scenes version of the
For our Patreon fans out
yeah
there.
the stuff that's going to be available only on YouTube, exclusively on YouTube.
Nice call on using the crypto like library to
Yeah, I
handle
couldn't
that. That
remember
was
what
a
it
good
was
move.
called. That article had it in there, and like I said, it was just inverted on what our problem was. Um, which that's a whole nother discussion for like a moment we could talk about, or a post you could write, is about the idea as a software developer having to search out solutions from existing conversations, but how very often it's not going to be a here's my error and you have the exact same error, and now I can just follow your solution line by line.
Hmm.
More often or not, like your error, you're going to find a conversation, and your error is somewhere in there, but there's like also they've like mixed in because their situation is going to be different than your situation. So then their solution, like your solution is in there, but you have to dig through and like weed out all the other stuff that you don't care about to find the piece of code that solved the problem inside of this long, you know what I'm talking about? I've had to do that a few
Yeah,
times
totally.
where I really had to parse through the solution. I found it eventually, but it was like deep inside of like a conversation on Stack Overflow or something. Um, it's not as easy as just like problem solution copy. You know, you've got to do that digging, and it's a skill. It's a patience skill you have to learn.
Yes, absolutely,
That was an
absolutely.
example of that where like his problem was just inverted from ours, so I just like put it the other way around and it ended up working for us.
Oh,
But yeah,
I'm so happy it did too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is a thing that keeps biting me so much with these SSR frameworks, because Nuxt is the same way, and I had this issue too before I really even realized what was happening. Is that because in Next and Nuxt, you know, you're defaulting to server side rendering, not client side rendering. There,
Right,
if you
right.
come from, which I do, if you come from like React world where it's strictly client side, right? Everything you do in like vanilla React is just client side rendering. That's a front end client side app purely. And all of the packages you're used to operating on are client side packages, but you can't necessarily take every client side package you're used to using and throw it into an SSR framework, because then the SSR is going to try and use those packages on the server side, and that does
Right,
not
right.
always work. And until you actually realize that, it's infuriating. You're like, this, like, it's UUID. You import UUID and you use it. Why is it not working? And this is React, right? It's Next, and Next is SSR. Like that was a hard lesson to learn. I struggled hard with that one for a while.
It's good to deal with those things though. It's actually something I dealt with this metronome situation too. Like the difference between like running something in Node and and then like what you'll have available to you actually in the web server. Um, because those are not always the same thing, right? Um, I mean, you know, it's similar to like this client side versus server side thing because the server side does not have all the what do you call it, like methods and
Like the
APIs
APIs,
available
right?
to it
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that the client side might have, and vice versa for that
yeah,
matter.
yeah, yeah.
It's confusing.
Like Node
It's kind
Node
of a
on the
tough.
server doesn't have
Yeah,
access to window or document, right? Those
don't I know it?
ones. Uh, but then the front end side doesn't have access to like file system that Node has. right?
Yes, exactly.
So
Or crypto or like other,
yeah,
you know,
apparently
other
crypto.
backends.
Think that's funny that that's not available on the front end, but it must be that security idea that you're going to use crypto in cryptography, and you want your cryptography to be secure, so that's got
Well,
to be on the
it's
back
a
end.
node. It's a node library too. It's not, which means that it's not available on the web server. I think is that right?
Hmm.
I think that's the deal.
What do you
Because
mean by web
because
server? You're
like
making a distinction here.
yeah, yeah, is that the right term? I have to check my terminology here. That I find myself doing this so much, like I'm almost afraid to say things sometimes. Let me see.
Well,
What
even
is
if it's
web
not the right
server?
terminology, I'm just trying to understand what different environments you're trying to reference. Like there's the client, which is the browser on
Like,
the computer, and then there's the
yeah,
server, right?
but the client's not running Node because the web existed before Node did.
Yes, the client is, oh, yeah, I guess it's, well, is it running Node to a degree? Or wait, the V8 engine that runs Chrome and runs the client incorporates Node inside of the V8 engine. I learned that in my backend course that I'm trying to go through.
Okay, nice. Okay,
But there must be some limitations. There's some deeper architectural stuff there that I don't fully understand. So, what do you mean by the web server?
like I'll give you an example with the metronome. You have to use the web audio API to build one because uh, the JavaScript runs on a like kind of a main thread, right?
Right.
And the reason that set interval doesn't work is because it's also on the main thread, and anything that happens ahead of it can push it back some number of milliseconds, which means that you're not getting really an accurate timing amount. And when it comes to music, like people can detect once it gets to like a 40 millisecond displacement, you can start to hear that
Uh-huh.
displacement, which is why you can't build a consistent metronome on the main thread. But the web audio API has its own separate thread that it keeps time on, uh, which which is what you actually have to build with. Now the thing is, you do not have access to that in Node. Like when you test this functionality, you have to actually run it on the web or on like a web server. Basically, is what I'm referring to. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but like um, I was
Web
having this
audio.
problem because I'm trying to integrate it into like a basic Next project. Uh, it doesn't exist like these things I'm trying to utilize. Like window doesn't exist in Node, like you were talking about earlier. I have to reference window. But then once it goes live, um, that's what like once I'm actually on like my npm run dev, that's the only time I can actually like test these things and run whether it's using the audio API correctly, the web audio API. It's confusing. I need
Interesting.
to like
So,
make
what?
sure I
Yeah, where
understand the
is that
terms.
running? What is the web audio API coming from? I'm gonna have to look into this, or like, where is it running?
It was included, I think, in 2015, along with all those other sweeping changes to JavaScript.
Okay,
Um,
so it's in JavaScript.
yeah, it's written in JavaScript.
It's
Or it's
inside of
provided.
JavaScript, right? It's inside of like the language, or is it a
Uh,
library?
yeah, you don't have to import anything. It
Okay,
just
so
exist
it's a
like
built-in
even
API.
typing. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. But like you can't, like I can't build a metronome on the server and
right. Okay.
then like import that or work with that data because or I can't build like the oscillator and like the audio context basically unless it's actually on the client side.
You should on LinkedIn, you should connect with what's that guy's name? Uh shoot. Is it Adam? See him posted? Maybe it's not Adam. Aaron. Uh I don't actually know what his name is, but he's been doing this guy. I've been watching him
Mm.
or following him for a while, and he's been doing a lot of stuff with audio and audio visualization
Oh, okay, yeah.
recently for a while now, and I think he started either streaming or blogging or a YouTube channel based off this stuff, and I've meant there. Here he is. I feel like you should follow him, and if and even like get in contact with him, and maybe after checking out some of his stuff, looking at the work that he's done, reaching out to him and talking to him because I'm sure he is all about this with all the audio and visual stuff that he's been putting together. Let me throw that into the huddle chat here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, would love that.
yeah, give him a follow. Um,
Oh, no, I don't know him actually. He just looks similar to someone I do. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't taken the time to dive in, but he's been posting stuff fairly regularly about things that he's been building and doing, all having to do with audio and visualization and stuff like that. So I think he would be a great resource just in his posts. But then you should absolutely reach out to him and just be like, "Hey, I see you're doing stuff with audio, and I'm trying to build a metronome. Do you know anything about this?"
Yeah,
And
okay,
what
I
has
love it.
your experience been using the web audio API and and its alternative thread or whatever, right? Like start that conversation. I'm sure he would be more than happy to have that conversation.
Thank you for the reference. I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
connecting with people trying to do the same things. It's funny when last oh gosh, what was it? Last week or the week before, you and I were talking about some kind of like music app or something, just ideas on what to build. And it was like the day after that, that dude Raphael reached out to me asking if I was interested
Ah,
in collaborating on some. He had kind of a different angle, but it's the same kind of idea. It's like a music. Let me see, what did he say?
we're being
It was
recorded.
like
Is this hidden secrets?
yeah, it's fine. No. Because we have not advanced beyond him sending me a message and me sending one back.
Okay.
uh, it was a platform for remote music lessons, is what he was talking about.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. There's a lot of like ideas out there. Like somewhere in the ether sphere, there's a product that somebody needs that hasn't been written yet, hasn't been created. I'm always hesitant to build things for musicians because we're perennially broke, and like
Until you're not.
until you're not.
Or hear me out here. My buddy Kyle, shout out to Kyle Baker, guitar player, bass player, string player extraordinaire. I've done hundreds of gigs with the guy, and he also teaches, and we've had so many great
Mm,
conversations about teaching theory and methods, and what do we do with this student, that kind of thing. Um, and he opened my eyes because had that same thought before. Um, about either musicians are broke or you're just teaching kids all the time and they don't have any money.
mm,
Um, but there's a huge market for like no offense in the word, but amateur hobbyist musicians who are like doctors, lawyers,
sure.
bankers that play guitar or drums, and they have the money to spend, and they keep Guitar Center afloat. I mean, musicians almost. I mean, really, like professional musicians probably are not the people that keep Guitar Center in business. It's the hobby. It's the hobbyists because it's a way larger
Yeah,
crowd, and they
yeah.
they have the ability to drop 10 grand on a new rig, right? Um, so instead of thinking about a product and targeting it towards professional musicians,
Mm,
you put that target on hobbyist musicians who have money
it's a good
and
idea.
have the time to spend learning and practicing because they just want to get better. I mean, like sites like Drumeo, if you're aware of Drumeo,
I've
massive
heard of it before.
online lessons. They live stream lessons. They got a huge catalog. They get all the biggest names in to do all kinds of great lessons. They make a fantastic product. Um, it's not professional musicians that are keeping them afloat. It's the hobbyist
Mm,
class, right?
that's true. Yeah, even with lessons. Yeah, it's funny too. I just started giving lessons again for the first time in years. This week, I had like two students out of the blue that both wanted to start this last week,
Nice.
which
Congrats.
is like, I don't know, sometimes that happens. Um, but it first, like, I worked in education for a time, for like 10 years doing after school classes, not for music, for just other things, and I really didn't like it. And
Mm,
I've always been hesitant to jump back into anything education for that reason. I'm finding I really enjoy teaching bass though,
nice.
because it's something I spend a lot of time with, and like I
Yeah.
know a thing or two about. So like it's nice to be able to pay that forward in a way too, and be paid for it, frankly.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it does have me thinking about what are some tools that I could use, because one person is in person, it comes to my place to learn, and then one person's over Zoom, and that was my first time teaching a remote lesson, and I
Okay.
honestly did not like that experience that much. But
Mm.
I there's definitely
There's a big
room for a
market for
tool
it,
set
though.
there.
There's
Yeah,
a
there's
there's
a
a big
huge market for it, and I don't think that there is a video chat service that really is tailoring itself to that. I know
mm.
that Zoom now has like a for musicians setting and everything now,
Oh, really? Okay, so they're
but I
working on
found that
it.
yeah, I found it didn't work that well. Their algorithm, even with all those settings, filters out bass notes basically below like
Uh-huh.
my highest E flat. Anything below that is like
The peaking and stuff,
uh,
yeah.
it no, it just like completely gets filtered out. Like
Yeah.
if I'm playing low notes, you know. So
Sorry,
I
for
had to
drums, I've done drum lessons before,
oh
and
sure sure yeah
and stuff just instantly, like, either gets squashed or disappeared as soon as you start hitting the snare drum or the cymbals because it
yeah
the signal gets so hot so fast that it just destroys it. Um, and I haven't. I only did video lessons for a period in time during like those strict, really strict COVID lockdowns,
mm,
and then abandoned it as soon as possible. It worked. I made it happen, but like, I mean, the thing that I wanted and needed was some way to easily coordinate, share, control almost like audio or metronomes or those types of things between our
yeah
systems. If
mm-hmm.
you could figure out a way, um, because I constantly had to direct my student, right? I was like, okay, open the book to page 45. It's going to be number 73 there on the right side. Do you see it? Okay, great. Put that on your music stand. Now turn your metronome on to 60 BPM, right? But if there was a way for me to like share a document to the screen, which obviously we have like screen sharing and whatnot, but like if there was a way like within the video app to have like low latency, good audio, document screen sharing, metronome controls that would stay relatively synced. I don't know if that's possible as much because there is going to be a delay with distance, but
yeah
you get what I'm saying here is like I can control all that from my side and then it just like happens for the student on the other side.
yeah
Like, I mean,
yeah
that
that would be
I feel
nice.
like that's kind of like a mammoth task. It seems like that's a lot there, but that
Yeah,
type of
because
an
like I don't know
environment,
anything about video.
yeah,
That's actually the real task. Like I feel like that's a great idea though. The idea of a having a more like maybe like musician friendly file sharing system. Um, but then also having a metronome that you could control, that you can like even maybe a tuner. Honestly, like I started this lesson. This the Zoom lesson was with a kid. They've just bought a bass. They're just getting started. They have a bass and an amp, and it's my first time doing a Zoom lesson. So I was talking to a guitar player friend of mine, just getting tips, and he's like, "Yeah, one thing I have a problem with is like kids like don't get a tuner. You know, they're ready to start lessons, but they don't have a tuner, and like, how am I going to tune it for them remotely?"
yeah.
And so I texted the student ahead of time. I was like, "Hey, did you happen to buy a tuner when you got your bass?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay." Um,
Get one. First
yeah,
off,
can you get one on your phone? She said, "Oh well, I've been tuning it by ear," and I had to check myself because I'm pretty sure the student's never really played music before. And she's done some self taught piano and stuff, but you don't tune your keyboard, you know. So I was like, "Do me a favor, download this app. If we need it, we'll use it." And we get into the lesson, and for sure, we needed that tuner. it was it was a necessity. I'm
oh
so glad
man.
I did that beforehand, so that the whole lesson wasn't just, all right, play the note for me again. You know,
I love the idea of just like dun dun dun. Sounds good. Dun dun.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Whatever.
But, like, when you're a kid, you don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
your first
I'm not.
instrument, like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure it's in tune. This feels good
yeah.
enough to me."
Absolutely. That's hilarious. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if you create some sort of an environment like that where you give the teacher the ability to just like with those controls just be able to generate that. Honestly, I could like well done with the right stuff, like that app would blow up.
I think so too, because that's actually something that people need. It's not just, like, a toy, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah. And you
and
could
also, it's
incorporate
not just the people giving lessons, but the people taking lessons that would need to use it too.
the experience is better on both ends,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um and
It give
then you
me
could think
ideas, man.
about what sort of tools you would want to have, thinking about the app as a wall, or like the video conferencing situation as a wall, and allowing the teacher to reach through that wall and like change something
Mm.
on the other end for the student. um what sorts of tools, like if something visual, like if you have a document, and I know they already have like document share things where you can draw on it and it appears on the other side so you can see, but like being able to like just point with a thing like, here, do this one, or being able to very specifically point this note, this one, you're singing that one sharp right now. Just being able
Right.
to like, I'm just thinking about like, what do I do here in, oh, there's a copy of my book, by the way. um
You've
uh
written a book?
yeah, yeah.
No way. Let me see.
Yeah, you didn't know? Okay, I guess I need to talk
No.
more about this on my thing.
Making a Drummer by Spencer Schoeneman. All right.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is it Schoeneman or Schoeneman? I forgot.
Shoneman, yeah.
Schoeneman. My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this took me 7 years to
Wow.
write and edit and finally put this thing into like print format. um I'm super happy with it, and I make all of my students buy one so that we can work out of it. But yeah, it's like 211 pages. um
That's
my,
gorgeous.
my wife took some beautiful uh images of
Wow.
of uh of drums and cymbals from around my studio.
That's so cool.
Yeah. um I'm super happy with it, and I have, there's a, this was kind of like my idea before I decided, and it's still a little bit of a pain point of like shifting away from doing music full time, because my
Mm.
next kind of phase and plan was, once I had this published, I was just gonna like go all in on this thing. Over, I wanted to teach a tons of video lessons and build out like a YouTube like teaching platform,
Yeah. Oh, man.
teaching out of my book. I was going to create. I had this idea. Speaking of apps, the idea would be like making a drummer would have its own app, and in that app you would have a like PDF, version of the book. So you have the full book, but then it would have um, audio and video examples of me playing everything in the book.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay, that's
uh,
perfect. Yeah, yeah, because like, you wanna be able to hear what you're actually seeing in the page.
right,
Sometimes
and
it's hard to decipher those things when you're learning.
yeah, and I could do, I did my best to try and describe things in written word. I've got a lot of explanation in here. I've got a primer at the front about like how you count, how you read music, what does this mean, what's a staff, what's a measure. Like I go through, um, you know, I try to make it like very beginner friendly and try to hand off as much stuff to the student as possible so that they have information in front of them. Um, but yeah, being able to teach that. So that's an app idea I had a while ago, and maybe at some point I'll do that. But um, yeah, getting back to this idea of like, I'm just trying to think about what do I do very commonly in a lesson. I'm over the student's shoulder. I have a pencil and I point on the page and I say, this note here, this note is late. This snare drum here, you're always playing this one late. Let's try and like move that over to being more on time. Um, Circling things, making a note in pencil on their page. Um, I'm using a whiteboard a lot. I use a whiteboard to try and like write out examples really quickly and put it in front of them super quickly. So just tools like that you use in person. Can we
Mm,
make a quick, good quality, um, easy to use, accessible version of that for a online teaching environment? Right. I think
right.
I think that would be money.
Gosh, well, that's a lot to think about. That I mean, there's no limit or there's no shortage of video apps, so it must be an accomplishable goal, you know?
Yeah. Or you could even you don't necessarily have to build the video infrastructure yourself. You can partner with somebody that already has the video conferencing thing down and then integrate
Mhm.
their service, and then you put basically your app becomes a wrapper around their video service.
Oh, I see, I see.
So you don't have to build video streaming on your own.
Huh, that's a good amount to think about. I think there's something in there, Spencer.
I really like this idea actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe we collab on this. Like,
Yeah,
I
we
need
could.
to, I need to, I need to write something down. Like,
Yeah, I would love to bring my buddy Kyle into the conversation just because he has a lot of thoughts when it comes to teaching technique, but also something like this. He's done video lessons as well, and he would be a great other person to like uh, brainstorm with about like what would be something in this type of an app that would be just like game changing for teaching online. I think like what you're talking about, what Zoom is trying to do, um, audio settings or audio filters, like
yeah,
having a different set of faders for like I'm teaching drum lessons. Oh, okay. So in order to make sure you can hear everything, we need to crush this and compress this and whatnot, so that when they hit the snare drum, it doesn't just like blast everything. I'm not an audio engineer, but
yeah.
I know audio engineers that would be able to advise
Same.
on such a thing.
Well, I almost feel like the
We
problem
should
with
not be
Zoom.
discussing this product recorded for free out there. Like every maybe I'll clip this
Go
part off
ahead. You
and we'll
make
we'll,
it this far?
we'll keep it in the vault. We'll keep it in the vault.
Okay, okay. Well, I've just been thinking like, because the problem with Zoom compared to a lot of people use FaceTime. I've heard, if that's available.
Ugh,
Um, no, it's better than Zoom though.
really? Okay.
Because the problem with Zoom is Zoom's strength, which is that they have all these algorithms going that
Mm,
compress and mess with sound. And I think really what musicians need is less of that. But one thing I could not find from any of these services that was really reliable, at least to my taste, um, was being able to like run like an audio interface straight into the audio
ooh,
um, of like Zoom, for instance. Like Zoom actually has that ability, but again, with bass notes, it's completely suppressing them below a certain frequency,
yeah,
and so which is a non-starter in terms of teaching bass, and would probably be an issue for a lot of instruments, I imagine, even
yeah,
guitar if you're playing lower strings.
yeah,
But like, Google Meet did not have that. Obviously, FaceTime doesn't have that. Like, you can't without significant work on your own end, connecting multiple different applications. You can't funnel your like. I have a Scarlett with two inputs, right?
yeah,
All I wanted to do was plug a mic and my bass in directly, and be able to just like directly send the audio without having to use laptop speakers, which is what I ended up doing because it was the only thing that actually worked.
hmm,
Um, I feel like there's something there too, because that would be like most musicians have an audio interface to
yeah,
utilize and probably a mic as well. And if you're giving lessons, it's certainly worth the investment, I would think.
yeah.
I mean, online lessons, because that's a chief complaint I've seen online from people is like, my son started taking lessons, but he can't really hear what's coming from his teacher's side, or like we hear his instrument, but his voice is really low, or vice versa. Like,
Dude, the more we talk about this, the more I'm convinced that this would print money.
yeah, yeah,
And
probably,
I'm not saying that's
probably.
the only motivation, but I mean, like, it would take a lot of work to put something like this together. So you would need some kind of payout on the back end. But
Yeah, yeah,
who better to build it than us?
yeah. I mean, here we are. It's the kind of thing that now that we're talking about it a bit more, like I could almost see myself like building alongside working a job. Like at some point, you'll get a job, a full time paid position. I'll get that too, and you know, it's like it's like a really good idea. There's a market for it. They always say like, does someone already do this? Is there desire for this? Like before
Yeah,
you endeavor to
market
make a
research,
startup or
right?
whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And there's
maybe
more
a little
research to do. It's a good
more
start.
maybe some more research to see like what sorts of things in this vein of app or service maybe currently exist. Um, that would probably be prudent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, like so, like fallback plan B, or let's say worst case scenario. Um, we put the time into successfully building some form of this idea, and 3 months before we launch, Zoom launches their suite, and it's everything we have done, but like 10 times, like, but twice as good or whatever.
Which is better. Yeah.
Uh, but we built the thing. That's a massive portfolio project.
That's a huge tap. Yeah, exactly,
That is
exactly. That's
that
huge
like you
evidence
put
that
that
you
as
can
your
do work with so many
resume.
things.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
your resume. That's a startup. That goes along with the idea of build a startup, not a side project, right? For your
Yes.
portfolio, don't build portfolio pieces. Build a startup, right?
Yeah,
Um,
build real products.
so like second, plan B would be, hey, we built this. We came up with this idea. We built all of this stuff. It works. It works really well. It's great. We got beat to the market doing this thing over here, but look at all the work I did as a software engineer. Hire me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a
Especially any
yeah.
kind of music related company too. You put that in front of them. I think that would raise massive eyebrows because everybody else has to do apps. Uh,
Yeah, 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 who does that?
and like a portfolio website of, hi, I'm a developer, hire me, which is great. I don't have a like one of those fancy smancy portfolio websites that's like all pretty and has the animations and everything. I've meant to build one for a while, but also just kind of didn't feel like spending my time on it. But
I
um
have an old one I made after my boot camp, but it looks so outdated and unprofessional, honestly, that I don't even share it at this point.
yeah, I've just kind of always been in the position of thinking that it would be beneficial for maybe making myself look good, but I've also had other projects I've been working on building that
Mm,
I felt like are more applicable and more unique. Like I've been building apps with different groups as
sure.
opposed to just like a straight landing page that doesn't really do anything. It's just like got animations on it.
Do you have, a music website for yourself?
Yeah, I do. In the key of rhythm.com.
Oh, nice, okay. I've thought for a long time of, like, having both on the same page, like, building a developer side and a music side so that I could have, like, I think I'm already here because I searched up your book.
Oh,
I
okay,
see it
yeah,
on there
you
for
found it.
sale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You could buy the book, the print version and the PDF through that website. I've got some other free PDFs because I was trying during COVID, the early parts of COVID. I was starting to try and do that YouTube teacher thing, so I was trying to make some lessons. I've got a YouTube channel with some videos on it, and then I made accompanying uh, PDF downloads for free to go along with them because that was going to be kind of my model of just like trying to produce useful quality content, teaching things that I enjoy. Um, I really enjoyed teaching. I really enjoyed making the book, and I've thought for a while that I have material enough to make at least one more book, um, and a whole suite of videos on it and whatnot. But time, man, maybe someday.
I hear that. I like your faux hawk, by the way. Or is it a mohawk?
Well,
Pretty,
actually, it's I just got it done yesterday, so it's like the shaved side, longer on top thing.
no, I mean in your on your website.
Oh,
Although
ah,
I did notice you got a clean
how
shave recently.
embarrassing! It's like, yes, I did just get my hair cut. Thank you for noticing. Um, yeah, that was my hair for quite some time. That was my thing.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, man. I actually I gotta run, but this was a very good post sesh.
Let's keep on this. Let's keep thinking about it.
This might be a nice thing to build, like off camera,
Yeah.
but like but something to
Closed
keep like building
source.
towards. Yeah, exactly.
Intellectual property. Um, but yeah, we could research and start coming up with like an idea of features. Maybe like just like what's the first couple of features. Um, of course, I need another thing to build in my time, but this would be
Tell me
super
about it.
fun. This would be super fun.
Yeah, it would definitely be. I mean, first of all, it's like more related to where we're coming from
Hmm.
professionally, but also I think maybe just a more ambitious and realistic project in terms of building a real thing, not a toy, not just like, oh, here's
Yeah.
some fun thing to look at once or twice, but like something people could really use. I like
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's the game, right?
Yeah, it is the game.
It's possible that we just stumbled on something like significant. So we'll keep tooling with it. I had another idea that I wanted to run past you, but we'll have to keep it for another time.
Okay. Okay. All right, man. Well, then I will see you next week.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Super great episode. Yep. Have a good weekend. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye.